Hi, I'm Diane Hall with AARP Missouri, and I'd like to welcome you to the third of 8 yoga conditioning classes, part of AARP Missouri's Moving It Fitness series. Now, if this is your first time joining us, you'll be easily able to follow along because our instructor gives excellent explanations and cues. This yoga conditioning class will run through August 4th. The class is suitable for many levels of fitness, but you know your own limitations. Please, please, please do not try to go beyond what you know is right for you. If you have any concerns at all, check with your doctor before participating in this or any other AARP fitness offering. AARP Missouri also offers another live class called Zumba Lite. A new session of Forever Fit will start next week on July 5th, and we will have links to past programs like Tai Chi, Forever Fit, Movement for Life. You can participate in those from the recordings, and you can find links to the current, past, and upcoming recordings and programs at aarp.org/movingit. Now, all of our programming is created with people 50 plus in mind, but it is good for anyone of any age, anywhere. And AARP hopes that our fitness series, like yoga conditioning, will be a great option for anyone who may not be able to or who may be hesitant to attend a traditional fitness class, like caregivers, or for those of you who might have some health concerns, or just for the convenience of working out at home. In addition to our online fitness classes, AARP has resources for caregivers, up-to-date COVID-19 information, and technology information on our website at aarp.org/nearyou. Now, if this is your first time with AARP fitness class, or using Zoom for that matter, we are in the webinar format. That means that you're already muted and your cameras are off. Please do use the chat to let us know how you're doing or to ask a question or make a comment. Also, if you want to stick around a few minutes after class is over, our instructor will answer your questions about the exercises or if you want a specific modification. Let's get started with yoga conditioning. Our instructor is Tyler Ferguson. Tyler, take it away.
Thank you, Diane. Good morning, everybody. We'll begin class today in a standing position. So if you're not standing already, come to standing where your feet are about hips or shoulders distance apart, whatever's most comfortable for you. The wider your stance, the more stronger base of support you're going to have. In classical yoga asana, you could stand with this very narrow stance, but your balance will be challenged a little bit more. So today we'll come to feet, hips, shoulders distance, and then allow the toes to lift up and then lift the heels up. And as you rock back and forth, see if you can spread the toes, open up the bottoms of the feet, and try to get more surface area contact with the bottoms of your feet in the ground. And then just arrive in your stance today. Pause for a moment and observe how you feel in your stance. And without judging or changing your stance, just take in a little bit of information. Notice where your weight is. Is it more in your heels? Is it more in your toes? Don't change anything. Just notice. Notice if you tend to place your weight on your inside edges of your feet or your outside edges. Again, not changing anything, just observing where you land. Moving up, begin to notice your hips and where they land relative to your ankles or your arches. Notice your shoulders and where they land relative to the hips still, not changing anything, just observing. Notice your ears, where they land relative to the shoulders. Take a breath here and then begin to resolve some of this work. So if you have a tendency to lean more into the toes or the balls of the feet, can you shift and get more weight in the heels or the opposite? If you're rolling more on the inside edge or rolling more on the outside edge, can you resolve so the big toe mound and the pinky toe mound and the heel have weight distributed evenly in the body? If your hips happen to hang out in front of your heels, can you bring the hips back over the arches of the heels? Or if your hips tend to hang out behind, resolving the hips, moving up, resolving shoulders so that they line up over the hips. And then bringing your ears back over the shoulders. So you might recognize this from our neck mobility drills, just drawing the chin up and in, feeling the length of the thoracic cervical spine, and having nice alignment. So feel this alignment in your body. Draw the navel slightly into the spine to engage. Inhale your shoulders up into your ears. Let the shoulders completely relax as the spine continues to lift and lengthen away from gravity. Close your eyes just for a moment if that feels comfortable, or take your eye gaze down to the floor, bringing your awareness inside your body through your breath. Inhaling here through the nose, exhaling back out through the nose. And just notice and observe on your inhales and your exhales, is your breath smooth? Is your inhale smooth? Are there places where you speed up or slow down, or you stumble a little bit with the inhale, and can you smooth that out? Also making sure the transition between inhale and exhale is also smooth. On your next inhale, can you fill up your torso, your trunk, like a balloon? So that not only is the belly rising or moving forward, but the side ribs are expanding to the side, and the back ribs are moving to the back. So that equally, the entire torso is moving in all directions as you fill up in your inhale. And then the torso is contracting, moving back to the midline or back to the spine on your exhale. Still all the while making sure your inhales and your exhales are smooth. At the top of your next inhale, take your longest inhale of so far today, and then pause for just a breath or two, or moment or two. And then exhale completely out. Right away at the bottom of your exhale, go back into your inhale. Fill up, be mindful and slow. Notice how long your inhale is. Pause at the top for a breath or two. And then release. The breath is in 3 parts now, still having smooth transitions between the 3 parts. A pause helps the body find the parasympathetic nervous system, just bringing the body down into your rest and digest, to the body's healing system. And then remove your pause at the top during your next round of breath, transitioning back into just inhales and exhales. If your eyes are closed, or if your eye gaze is down to the ground, lift your eyes back up to the screen. Have a soft micro bend in the knees. Notice if during that breath work you tended to pull the knees back and lock out. Put that soft micro bend back in the knees. Maybe tear the ground apart just a little bit, like you're separating your feet from one another. If you've never been with me before, this might not make sense, but you can ask after class. Or you're crushing or pulling the ground together. So finding that activation in the legs, grounding down to the feet. Inhale the arms up, reach overhead. As you reach overhead, the palms come toward one another, and then the backs of the hands rotate toward me, so the pinkies come together. Lengthen through your inhale here. And then exhale, turn the palms back down towards the ground and come to standing. Again, inhale the arms up, reach overhead. Option to bend at the elbows and grab opposite elbows here, or bind the hands up top. And then just start to create some little tick-tocks from side to side, finding length in between in the torso. So separating or lengthening between the rib cage and the top of the hips. And then notice as you tick-tock, if I tick-tock over to this side, I'm going to push through this leg. Pushing through opposite leg of the direction you're going. And then syncing these tick-tocks with your breath. If you have a shoulder injury, you just stay right here. You can still move your spine. And then coming back to center, coming back into stillness. Working the shoulders more now. Inhale the arms up. Rotate the pinkies in. Exhale, turn your palms to me. Draw your elbows down, but lift the heart. Draw the navel into the spine, lift the heart. Inhale, palms back up together. Rotate pinkies. And then exhale, palms down to the sides. Take that again. Inhale, arms up. Palms start to face one another, then rotate pinkies in. Exhale, palms face me or the screen. Draw the elbows down, lift the heart, draw navel to spine. Inhale, hands back up, rotate pinkies in. Exhale, palms down to the side. Move with your own breath here. Inhale, palms up. Palms start to come together, then find your rotation. Exhale, elbows down, heart lifts, navel in, eye gaze can lift. Inhale, eye gaze comes back to the screen, rotation. Exhale, palms down, chin down to chest, neck stretch. Inhale, lift your eye gaze up, look up at your pinkies as they rotate in. Exhale, palms face me, look right at the screen, elbows down, heart lifts, navel in. Inhale, reach up, look up. Exhale, palms down, chin down to the chest, shoulders away from ears. One more time. Inhale, reach up, look up. Exhale, eye gaze is right at the screen, right at me, palms face me, elbows down, navel into spine. Inhale, look up, reach it up, rotation. Exhale, palms down, chin comes down to the chest. And then bring your eye gaze right back to center. Take your hands and place them on your hips, and just hip root back to the corner of the room. Squeeze your glutes forward, hip root back to the other corner of the room. Just getting a little movement in the hips. Inhale, hips forward. Exhale, hips back. Inhale, hips forward. Squeeze your glutes. Exhale, send your hips back. So notice like I'm sitting in a chair sideways. Inhale, squeeze. Exhale, bend knees, sit back. I'm sitting in the chair sideways, but my toes are pretty forward. So syncing your movements with your breath. It's kind of like a side chair pose. We're just getting into some hip muscles, mobilizing the hips. You might feel a little gravel, a little crunchy as you're moving around here. Last time, or wherever you are, finish it up. Good. Bringing your feet and making any adjustments if your feet crept out. Let's work on our heel lifts here. So raise the heels up into the air, come to standing, and lower down for about 8 heel lifts. 7, down with control, 6, 5, pressing up, looking at your drishti. So it might not be me moving on the screen. It might be just below your television or just down on the floor, out in front. We're trying to talk and count at the same time. I think this is number 3. We're going for about 8 here. Strengthening the ankles. And then look at my ankles real quick on this last one. Trying not to roll to the outside edges of the feet, but keep the weight in your big toe mound and your piggy toe mound. Oops. And then keep your ankles and legs in alignment. Good. Bend your knees. Relax from that. Bring your hands together. Shoot and round. Separate your shoulder blades. Take your eye gaze to your thumbs. So you're stretching out the middle upper back. So kind of the thoracic spine area. And then move into your chest expansion. Lift your heart. Lift your gaze, bring your shoulder blades together, create full fascial tension in the arms here. So we don't want to leak power at the elbows. Reach and expand, open up the chest. Inhale, exhale, shoot and round. Eye gaze is at your thumbs. And then notice if the shoulders want to creep in the ears here. So draw the shoulders down away from the ear, and then use your fingers forward, punching forward to open up the back. And then inhale, chest expansion. Reach. And then bringing your hands down, put your heels together. So if you look down, it's like you have a slice of pizza between your feet. Good. And then squeeze your inner thighs together as best you can. Squeeze your heels together as best you can. Hands can be on the hips or out in front. So see if you can go back into your heel lifts. And can you squeeze inner thighs? Maybe squeeze the glutes together. Or by squeeze, I mean draw towards the midline. And then notice I'm trying to keep my heels together here too. As I perform 8 more of these heel lifts, you might have to make your pizza slice just a little bit narrower in order to achieve that. So getting kind of the inner leg muscles more involved in this. I think I have one more, trying to count 8. And lower down. Toe heel your feet apart. Place your hands on your hips. I'm sorry, lift your left arm up and over, reach, big side bend. And then as I'm lifting through, whatever arm is lifted, push down to that opposite foot. Inhale, bring it back down. Opposite arm reaches up and over, and then you're pressing down to that opposite foot. Inhale, and release and let it go. And bring your hands back to the midline. Moving into chair pose. Send your hips back like you're sitting in a chair and pause. And then if you can see yourself in your screen or in a mirror What you're looking for is to try to have the angle of the space between your shoulders and your hips, so along your back, have that angle mirror about the angle of your knee to your ankle. So coming to your chair pose. You want to have a neutral spine here. So neutral means you do have a natural curve in your spine. Notice where your weight is in this chair pose. It's nice if you can send the weight back to your heels a little bit. Then you might notice I'm wiggling my front toes. Good. Separate the hands, reach them back behind you. Turn the palms up. So we have airplane arms here. And notice if I really extend and reach to my fingertips, I can feel my triceps working here in this chair pose. Try turning the palms down. Bring your scapula together. When the palms turn down, the heart opens a little bit. Rotate, turn the palms up, fire up the triceps. Rotate the palms down, open up through your heart. You might feel the burn in the shoulders here. Rotate palms up, fire up through the triceps. And then rotate down. Scapula comes together. And then one more breath here and come to standing. So you might feel that your heart rate elevated a little bit during that airplane work. Take an inhale, pause. Exhale, let go of the residual tension from that exercise there. And then we'll come back into chair pose. Arms forward this time, lowering your seat down to the ground. Start to tear the ground apart here. That means just pulling the feet away. Inhale here. Now exhale, push through the heels, stand up nice and tall, squeeze the glutes at the top. Inhale, pull your hips down to the floor, arms go forward. Exhale, push through the heels, stand up nice and tall, squeeze the glutes at the top, draw navel to the spine. Inhale. As you pull the feet apart, notice it can pull your hips down to the floor or your seat down to the floor. Exhale, stand nice and tall. Inhale, lower down. Exhale, stand nice and tall. 5 more here, moving with your breath. Inhale to lower. Push through the heels. Exhale, stand tall, squeeze your glutes. So feel how your feet are working in both directions. So working from the bottoms of the feet to the crown of the head as you do this work. As your seat goes down, your eye gaze looks down on the floor in front of you so that the crown of your head is in line with your tail or your coccyx. 2 more, I think. Trying to do 10. I'm somewhere close to 10, I know. Last one, inhale down. And exhale, stand up nice and tall. Your heart rate gets elevated on these. Just stand here, take a long inhale. Pause. And then exhale, let it go. We're going to move into our rotational work from chair pose. So coming back into your chair pose, this time keeping your arms out in front of you, palms are together. I'm going to start with my right arm. And where I want to get the rotation is in my rib cage, as if my rib cage is a globe rotating on that axis. So I'm going to trace my right fingertips, peeling open my right arm, feeling my right rib cage rotate open. My knees might deviate a little bit as I'm opening up, and I'm trying not to collapse in my knees. I'm still trying to maintain this chair pose. Let your arms sweep down along your side and join you back up to the front. Try it on the other side now. Left fingertips, reach back. Feel that rotation happening in the trunk. Reaching back. Inhale in, exhale, let your arm fall down to the side. Back to your right side. As you peel open, maybe your eye gaze starts to follow your fingers, and that can change how the exercise switch. Now I'm switching sides, but you don't have to. So I want to make that clear. You just stay the same direction you're facing. I'm just trying to show you what it looks like more. So we're just reaching through opposite sides, finding little rotations as we're seated down in our chair pose. 1 more on each side, really opening up that rib cage to the back part of the room. As you follow this work with your eye gaze, you'll notice that your neck is rotating and getting a little rotation as well. After you've completed an equal amount on both sides, come to standing. Inhale the shoulders up into the ears. Exhale the shoulders down along the back. And fill up with some fresh air. We're going to move into our Warrior 2 series today, and I'm going to change it up a little bit on you. So I just want to make sure it feels comfortable in your body. So everybody come to your straddle stance. So our toes are still tracking forward, but now our feet are quite a bit wider than our shoulders distance. So yogi's choice, how wide you want to take your feet. Place your hands on your hips, lift and lengthen through the spine. And then bring, I'm going to work this leg. So whatever one that, and it's my right leg, so I'm going to use the word right. But you mirror or choose whatever side works best for you. I'm going to pick up the toes and pivot so that my toes are now facing the short end of the mat, if I'm working the mat, or they're facing the wall off to the side. And then I'm going to give a slight bend into the knee, beginning to find my warrior two pose. Now notice this back leg, the toes are still in that forward orientation. What I want to avoid is opening up this back leg hip externally. So I'm keeping it forward, or I could even turn it in a little bit if that feels okay. And then using your hands to rotate the flesh in this leg that rotated. I want to keep the knee tracking right over the second toe, or I want to keep it actively pulling towards the piggy toe. From here, the hips are about 45 degrees off the mat, but the trunk is rotating towards the long edge of the mat. Lift and lengthen through the arms, warrior two pose here. Rotate the palms up, broaden across the chest, and then exhale the palms down. Now, you can bring your hands to your hips, straighten out your front leg, and then find your warrior two again. Inhale, lengthen, or straighten out the leg. Exhale, land in your warrior two. So keep moving here. Try to move with your breath. Try to move at a speed that works for you. And what I'm asking you to do is each time you arrive into your warrior two, can you find that external rotation in the hip where that knee is actively tracking toward the outside piggy toe? Can you find alignment? A tendency in warrior two also is to reach and want to fly in your warrior. So can you bring your hips, your shoulders over your hips in that pose? A couple more times, finding your warrior two. Last one, pause and hold it here. So we'll meet up here in this warrior two. Whatever hand is associated with your back leg, bring it down. Take your front palm, scoop it up, reach and reverse your warrior. So you're lifting your fingers up to the sky, pushing down through the heel and creating this nice length on the body. Maybe take your eye gaze up to your hand, take an inhale here. Exhale, find your warrior two one final time. Eye gaze is over the fingertips in warrior. I'm sorry, I'm teaching in the screen and I have a terrible habit of looking and not cueing your eye gaze in your warrior. Hands goes on your hips, straighten out your front leg, pick up and pivot your toes. Find your pivot on the other side. Pivot through the heel, place the toes down, find your warrior two. Being mindful first about that front knee, making sure it's not collapsing in towards the midline. We want to actively pull it out towards the piggy toe, maintaining this alignment. And then also being mindful of your back foot, that it's either in that neutral straddle position or the back heel is dropped a little bit. Bring your arms up, find your warrior two here. Eye gaze is over the fingertips. You can just listen to my voice here. Continue activating through the feet. Bring shoulders right over your hips. Feel both feet in the mat. Maybe lift and separate the toes here. Place them back down so that you get more surface area, more contact area. Rotate the palms open, broaden against the chest, or across the chest. Palms come down. Hands go to the hips, straighten out your front leg. Inhale here. Exhale, land in your warrior two. Eye gaze over the fingers. Inhale, press out, straighten out the leg. Exhale, land. Continue moving with your breath, flowing this movement, the enter and the exit from warrior two. Notice if you can maintain the weight in your back leg equally, even as you push in and out of warrior two with your front leg. Notice how the weight can distribute, but can you maintain equal activation in both legs? Notice if you have a tendency to want to move in the upper body and fly your warrior. Can you keep your shoulders over your hips and only move the lower half of your body? So you're just bending in and out of that warrior with the knee. But you're also finding that external rotation in the hip, drawing the knee towards the piggy toe. Last time, let's meet in this warrior two. Eye gaze is over the fingertips of the knee and toes that are pointing away. Drop your back arm, scoop the front arm, reverse your warrior. Push through the front foot or the knee that's bent. Push through that foot, through the heel to create length. Reach to the opposite arm. Eye gaze could go up to the ceiling. That'll challenge your balance. And then exhale, find your warrior two for a moment. Lift and lengthen through the spine. Hands go on the hips. Straighten out your leg, pivot. We're going to try some warrior two lunges. So through the heel, pick up and pivot, warrior two. Now straighten out the leg, pick up and pivot. Pivot on the other side, warrior two. So these are called warrior two switches. Pivot, pick up and pivot, warrior two. Press through that leg, pivot, pivot on the other side, press through that leg. Couple more times, just feeling the rotations, feeling these transitions in your body, and being mindful of the external rotation of the hip, of the knee, or the leg that's bending. Last set, right side. Syncing this movement with your breath. Last set, left side. Straighten out and bring yourself back to your straddle position. Hands can go on your hips. At this point, if you have your chair close by, you can bring it into your practice. You don't have to have it right now. I'll show you how to do it without chair and with. Send your hips back behind your heels. And with a flat back, just hinge down. If your chair is here, you can rest your hands in your chair. If not, we're just not taking our head below the heart. Just going to pause here with a flat back, just for a moment. Now, if you can take your head below the heart, you know that that's safe because you don't have glaucoma or any other conditions that wouldn't allow the head to go to below the heart. You can round the head and round the spine, holding onto the chair to get a little deeper. Or if you don't need a chair in your practice, you can bring your hands down to the floor. But super, super nice having this chair here, being able to collapse, get a little bit deeper in the pose. So we're just stretching out. Maybe you notice the stretch in the inner thighs, so we're just stretching out the inner thighs from that warrior work. Breathe in. Now to exit out of this pose, we want to make the back flat again. So lift your eye gaze and start to flatten out the back, bringing the head in alignment with the hips. Push your weight down in your heels, feel your glutes turn on, draw your navel to your spine, and bring yourself back up to standing. Toe, heel, the feet together, and then we're going to move into our tree work for today. We've been working on tree pose, and I'm going to give you a couple of options for activations in your tree pose. First, I'd like to demonstrate tree pose for you. I'm going to start with putting my weight in my left leg. So I'll peel up my right heel. I'm going to bring my right foot in. So notice I have this external rotation in the hip again. We prepped our hip in our warrior pose. And what I'd like to invite you to do today is find it with your toes down in that first leg so we can really cue the standing leg. So if you haven't gone there yet, maybe you're there, maybe not, peel up the heel, externally rotate the knee, draw it in, but keep the toe down as a kickstand. So the toe is just this active kickstand. I want you to really go into this plant leg, make a connection between the heel and the glute. So see if you can hug the glute into the bone, get nice and long, maintaining that micro bend in the knee. See if you can find balance by really activating the glute of your standing leg. Lift your heart and lengthen. Hands can come to prayer. Now you can stay right here with a kickstand, or you can begin to slide your foot up the leg so that the arch of your foot goes right in your calf muscle. If you've chosen this option, continue to focus on the glute of the standing leg. You need to bring your eye gaze to something in the room not moving. And if you've fallen out of your pose, allow yourself to take the steps to get back into the pose. Take some moments to get there and choose a variation that works for you. If you do have the bottom of your foot on your calf muscle, see if you can press your foot into your leg and your leg back into the foot. Feel that translation happen in the stability of the hips. Maybe you reach your hands overhead. You're listening to my voice because your eye gaze is at your drishti right now. And then bring your hands back to prayer. Close your knee and bring your foot down. Now, for some of you, if you would have brought your foot up, you may have gone to a chair. I would suggest, see if you can keep the toe down, take this variation and work the pose by making choosing a variation that you can have a little bit more success with. If you still need the chair with the toe down, totally use that chair there if that makes you feel more supported or more successful in your pose. Just work through the hips a little bit, and we'll take that on the other side. So I really want to encourage you, if there are levels for the exercise, to, even if you have great balance, feel the cues in each level so you can reverse engineer. So my weight's going to be in my right leg here, peeling my left heel up, externally rotating the leg, and then sliding my foot in. Now, what can happen is I can kind of dump in this hip a little bit as I'm doing all that. So with my toe down, I can really straighten out that hip without locking out the knee and firm up the globe of my glute. So I'm hugging it to my bone, lifting and lengthening out of that pose, and then trying to have less and less weight on the balancing toes. So it's truly like a kickstand, and I'm truly recruiting this balance, this single leg in my balance. So maybe you stay right here and you work that. You work on your eye gaze, your drishti. You work on noticing if you have less weight in the toe. If you really want to go to a true single leg balance, you could slide the leg up. If you do, put the bottom of your foot into the calf muscle. Immediately try to push your foot into the calf, but then the calf back into the foot. And feel that relationship between the hips. And then use that relationship to lift and lengthen through the spine. I'm looking all over the place. So I have to go back and look at my drishti if I'm going to stay here. I'm going to encourage you to stay looking at your drishti or your gazing point, that fixed point where nothing is moving. Maybe you reach your arms up overhead, maybe you don't. It all depends. But when you exit, begin your exit, try to exit with some control. Again, using that kickstand is totally what I really wanted to do here, but I wanted to give you guys some options. Let's make our way to our plank poses on our chair. So this is where we use our chair, or maybe the couch, or a coffee table. And we're just going to get the hips mobilized and some length in the back as we move just a few times from plank to down dog. We've done this the previous week, so if you've done this already, you can find it. If you haven't, this is your first week, join me here. You're going to place their hands in the chair and notice I'm going to bring my shoulders up sort of in front of my hands. So if I drew a line down, it's really lining up with my knuckles rather than being back behind the chair. And then step back and maybe find your plank here. Notice I'm pretty high on my toes in my plank. And then from your plank, you're just going to lift your hips like a pike, draw your navel into your spine, roll down to your heels to a downward dog. Now it's totally okay to bend your knees a lot here. The priority here is really in the spine. So from my fingertips all the way up back to my hips, am I getting some nice length and release in my spine? And can I let my head go? Just really hang. Let the head go into traction here. So that my ears are almost in line with my biceps unless my chin is even more to my chest. Now to go back to my plank, lift the heels, roll up and over and out and come back into plank pose. Notice the shoulders are kind of over the knuckles. Inhale here. Exhale, roll back, find your plank pose. Knees can bend here. That's fine. Priority is the spine. In your downward modified down dog here, draw the navel into the spine. And then see if you can get the shoulders more active by doing this. Pretend like you want to hide your armpits. So you're going to roll them down to the mat in a way and slide your shoulders down your back. It's a pretty crazy cue. Maybe it works for you. Now, lift out of it. Inhale, lift the heels, look forward. Come back into your plank pose. Shoulders over fingertips, plank. Press back into the chair from your fingers if this is starting to hurt your wrist. Then pike, lift your hips, draw navel to spine. Come back, and we're going to stay here in downward facing dog. So you might have to take a look at the mat really quick. Take your left leg and walk it to the midline, just about a foot. Just bring your left leg in about a foot. And then start to lift your right leg up and back, up into the air. So this is a 3-limb dog. Keep a slight micro bend in the left leg, and then lift the heel of the left leg. So now I'm coming up on my toes on the left leg, and then lower the heel down. Bring your right leg back down. Maybe bring it in just a little bit. Shift the weight to the right leg, and extend, lift back through the left leg. 3-limb dog. So you notice the higher you reach up, the more you feel a stretch in the hamstring of the leg that's down on the ground. So my right leg is planted, I feel a stretch in the right hamstring. From here, peel and lift the heel up of the right leg. So I'm up on my right tippy toes, and then lower the heel back down. Put your left leg back down. 2 more times. Right leg lifts, 3-limb dog. Pause here, reach and lift, extend, push through the toes. By pause, I mean just keep the leg lifted. Breathe with the leg lifted, and bring the leg back down. Left leg lifts. Plant the right leg, extend, point through the toes. Inhale, exhale, leg goes down. 1 more time, flow this with your breath. Inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, right leg comes down. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, left leg comes back down. So organize your feet again. Find your downward facing dog. Peel your heels up. Come to your plank and step forward and come to standing. Good. Inhale your arms up. Exhale your arms down to your sides. Now, normally we go down to the mat and do cat-cow, but I want to show you a seated version of cat-cow for those of you who don't want to go to the mat at all in class, or who want to avoid as much mat as possible, or who don't like, have some wrist struggles on the mat. If you want to go down to the mat and do your cat-cow right now, you can. Otherwise, you can sit in the chair, hook your fingers right around your knees, take an inhale and pull your heart forward, lift your eye gaze. You're peeling your sits bones up off the chair. Inhale, cow pose here. And notice I'm pulling my heart and belly through my arms almost. On my exhale, I'm going to push my knees away and round, draw my chin down to my chest, roll back into my sacrum. And then I'm going to inhale, lift my eye gaze, pull my heart forward. Elbows are bent, notice. On an exhale, I push and straighten out the arms around the back. So flow that with your breath. Inhale, cow pose, heart comes forward. Eye gaze lifts, chin opens up, throat opens. Exhale, chin comes down to the throat, eye gaze looks down, back down to the thighs. Couple more times, just flow your cat and your cow. So as you're moving through this flexion and extension in your spine, you really want to think about length. Always want to create length in the spine as you're working it, and then come back into your neutral. Here is where we do need to move on the floor though. So for those of you that aren't comfortable on the floor, my apologies. I'm not going to stay here too long, but I wanted to get people into their bird dog exercise. So coming to your tabletop position in the floor, hands are right under the shoulders. Spread the fingers as wide as you can and allow the index fingers to kind of be your line, if that feels good, that kind of external rotation. And then can you see my elbows? Do you see how I'm kind of bending and then corkscrewing a little bit? That might help you find some lat activation. Notice if you feel your lats turn on when you do that little screw motion. Right leg is going to extend back and then float up into the air just a little bit. Now, if you put some slack in your right elbow because you lifted your right leg and do that screw motion and pack your shoulder down your leg, you might feel the lat turn on to make up for the deficit of the leg reaching back. Another thing you can do is push through the shin of this opposite foot to also help you find some stability in this pose. Draw your navel into your spine, stay right here, or reach and lift your opposite arm forward, fingertips reaching forward. Spinal balance pose here. Eye gaze is down to the floor, nice and steady. Option to lift that left arm. You don't have to push the left foot, top of the foot if the left arm is lifted. Bring your left arm back down, bring your right knee back down. Big toe comes together, open up your knees, and then send your hips back into a child's pose. So see if you can really relax and let your forehead come down to the mat. When you do that, you might smash your nose a little bit or smush your nose. So just tuck your chin. But see if you can come into a place where you can completely rest from that work. And then pause for a moment in the pause of observation and notice how the right side of your body feels relative to the left side of your body. Take one more breath and pull yourself back up into your tabletop position. That way we got our little break in the wrists. Remember how we did that little corkscrew? Shoulders come down the back. Draw navel into spine. This time send the left leg back. So maybe that's it for you today. It's just sending the left leg back. If you want to fire up the posterior chain, see if you can push through the heel. And it's not about lifting the leg. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to extend. We're trying to find extension through the leg. So notice when you extend, it opens up the front of the hip, and it also opens up that space behind the knee. Put some slack in your left elbow, find that little screwing motion, and see if you can get that left lat to turn on to make up for the deficit of the leg. Option here to press through the right shin and elevate and reach the right arm forward. So the thumb is up like you're shaking somebody's hand, but notice the points that are on the ground to where you're placing the work. Eye gaze is down, breath is steady. You don't have to take that right arm forward if that's not where you are today. If it's just about the leg today, it's just about the leg. Meet yourself where you are today. Right hand goes down, left knee comes down, big toes come together. Push your hips back into a big, juicy child's pose today. Take one breath in your child's pose. Fill up completely. Exhale through the mouth. Let it go. This time on your next inhale, feel the back ribs expand up to the ceiling. Breathing into your back. Pause. And then exhale, let it go. Pull yourself back up to your seat. And we're going to do a little bit of core, making our way to our back before we finish. So I keep demonstrating this core work, but I want to make sure it's really super clear. So take a moment to look at the screen so that it's clear. You're going to come into this position like you do when you're in a bridge pose. And you want to make sure that this low back, you don't have a super, super huge arch. See my hand right there? You don't want a super, super big sassy arch in there, but you also don't want to be smashed in completely. So try to find the neutral or the compromise between those two spaces. Good. And then walk the toes forward just a little bit and then lift the heels. So you'll notice when the heels lift, the belly button, you draw your navel to the spine, turn your core on. And then just above that arch in your back, you can press into those back ribs to get some stability and turn on the core. And then moving at the hip, I'm going to bring my right knee over my right hip so the right shin is parallel with the sky. And then tap it down, keep the heel lifted. I'm going to do the opposite thing on the opposite side, left knee over left hip, point my toe, shin is parallel, and tap it down. Eye gaze is up to the ceiling. We're just doing these little marches. So tap and lower, tap and lower. As you lift the leg to tap and lower, notice if you're wiggly in the belly. And notice if you're shifting weight from one glute to the other glute. What I want you to do is use your core activation. So that really tight, you can palpate, maybe you cough, use those muscles to keep your hips really steady and still as you lift and lower your legs. Keep drawing the navel into the spine. And then even it out here. So you got equal number of reps in the right side and the left side. And then bring both knees into the chest. Notice how that'll send your back and your spine nice and long. I said log. Take some ankle circles here. And then ankle circles in the other direction. Put your toes right back down. Put your heels down. Arms come down to the side. Press your hips up to the ceiling. Squeeze your glutes, squeeze your inner thighs together. Inhale here. And then exhale, lower yourself down. Again, press up. Squeezing glutes, opening up the front of the hips. Inner thighs, pretend like you have a pillow or a ball between the inner thighs. By the way, lower your hips, take your eye gaze and look up to the ceiling here, and then keep the eye gaze up to the ceiling. Just keep listening to my voice. Just a few more times, lifting the hips up, opening up the front of the quads, the front of the hips, squeezing glutes here, lowering back down just for a tap, and then pressing back up. We're looking for about 8 to 10 of these here. These little bridge movements, firing up the glutes. Pause with me with your hips loaded on this one, and then feel the heels in the ground. Start to like energetically pull the heels back towards your chin or your shoulders, and notice how that fires up the hamstrings more. Squeeze the glutes, open up, lower the hips. Try that one more time. Press the hips up, draw the heels back to the chin, squeeze and lift a little bit higher, and lower yourself back down. Take your right leg, cross it over your left leg. Bring both legs into the chest for a little stretch. I wish we could be together for like an hour and a half. We could just go so slow and so juicy. Lower your left leg back down, uncross your right leg. Cross your left leg over your right. And then bring the whole unit up. Bring it in for a nice little stretch. You can rock side to side as you do this if that feels good. Continue breathing, breathing fully here. And then lower your right leg back down. Take the bottoms of your feet and put them together and let the knees fall open for reclined butterfly pose. Take a big breath. Start to let go of the workout or let go of today's practice. Sink a little bit heavier into the mat here. And you might want to finish your Shavasana in this pose, or slide your hands down inside your thighs. Assist your knees coming back together. You might spend your minute of relaxation with your knees bent, or straighten your legs nice and long. Just allow yourself a moment to just feel the work that we did today. Making sure that your neck is in neutral and your eye gaze is up to the ceiling. It's fine to close your eyes. Try to find softness in your whole body. Start with your face, all the different points of your face, like your forehead, your cheeks, your jaw. Your tongue is a great place to release the jaw. So pull the tongue away from the roof of the mouth and the teeth. Separate the lips. Allow that softness to travel down into your throat. Let it travel into your chest and your heart, and extend into your hands and your fingers. With each exhale, just surrendering a little bit deeper to this pose, softening belly. And just being aware of weird spots where you hold on, you just refuse to let go. Sometimes we hold on to things that are unnecessary to hold on to. A little hold in the glute, or a little bit of a hold in the groin or the toes. The floor has us, we're completely supported. It's unnecessary to hold on to anything right now to keep from falling. And notice if that pattern shows up in other areas of your life. If there's things that you want to hold on to that are unnecessary, that can continue to work for you, regardless of your holding on. Wiggle your fingers and your toes a little bit here. Draw your knees into your chest and roll over to your favorite side. Pause for a moment on your favorite side. It's hard for me to commit, my little microphone right here. And then press yourself up to seated if it's comfortable to be in a seat for you. And we'll end class seated. So your legs can be stretched out, or your knees can be bent. Sorry, I know my mic is off. There we go. We'll just finish class in whatever seat works for you. Sitting up nice and tall through the spine. It's a pleasure and an honor to share this practice with you. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I look forward to seeing you next time.